Welcome in, this is Storming Night at Storming Nights Gaming, and this Nightblade build. It's the one I've been using quite vigorously over the past couple of weeks, really, and I've been putting it through some rigorous testing, and it's been above and beyond. So, looking at our buff stats, we are at 20k resistances. 4k spell damage, or weapon damage. Damn it. Well, there goes take 3, take 4. Damn. Welcome in, it is Storming Night from Storming Nights Gaming on YouTube. Hit that follow and subscribe if you like the content. I'm going to be pushing out more build videos in the future, but this one is my Stam Nightblade build that I've been using in the past couple of weeks. I put it through some rigorous testing both in BGs and in Cyrodiil with group play and solo. It is a melee gank blade. It has a lot of defensive utility and offensive utility. It still has the burst to consistently drop bodies and stack them and send them to Valhalla, where we can acquire them later and use them as trophies. Looking at our stat sheet, we're at 20,000 max health. We are in Cyrodiil. So, I think my buff dropped off. It did. So, we're going to eat that real quick. We are using the dubious Camoran throne. Food. As you look at it now, we are at 24k health on our front bar, 25k health on our back bar, 11k max mag, 26k max stam, almost 1,000 mag recovery. But it seems it's a little meh, but you'll see the increase whenever you see our other set we're running. We are running almost 800 health recovery and 1600 stam recovery on our front bar. I think that fluctuates to, yes it does, 1800 stam recovery on our back bar. Whenever you go to see your resistances, we are at 20k on both resistances, 2600 crit resistance. It is a low crit meta, but this is where this build thrives. So, you're going to be consistently keeping up your resistance buffs because of your surprise attack for those who don't know about Nightblades or are new to Nightblades. So you're going to be consistently keeping that up. Whenever you look at our gank buff, we are at 4,000 weapon damage. When you're prime and ready to gank, you can run Vampire. I've seen a couple of Nightblades using Vampire. It is a huge weapon damage bonus. I personally prefer the extra defense of not taking the extra flame damage. There are a lot of Sorcs right now and a lot of mag DKs, and they are melting. On our front bar, we have Camouflaged Hunter, as you can see, and it's going to give us 44% crit. We are critting consistently on this build, and I mean, it is insane. We're running the Shadow Mundus Stone, giving us 18% extra critical damage. And moving on to our skills. On our back bar, we are running Resolving Vigor as our main heal. We are running Shadow Image. You can run Mass Hysteria if you feel like it, but I prefer the kiting utility of Shadow Image. On top of it, gives minor maim to the enemy, and it allows you in group play to teleport to your allies' location if they're in trouble, or swap out, and they can take the offensive while you dip out, re-heal, get back in action. Our next skill is going to be Race Against Time. You can still use a loot if you feel like it. It will give you a little bit more tankiness. I like the extra magicka because it keeps my stam back up. So I'm constantly fluctuating on my resources there on one of the sets we're running. This is your snare and immobilization immunity. So removes your snares, adds critical damage plus 10% for the next 12 seconds, and it gives you Major Expedition for the next 4 seconds. So if you cannot afford to consistently keep up your stamina, through roll dodges, or through, say, you've hit 5-6 people and you're almost out of stam. You don't want to use any of that stam because you still got to heal. You still got to kite. This gives you the Major Expedition and snare immunity. Really nice. Moving on our bow bar, we are using Poison Injection. I do prefer Venom Arrow. I'm probably going to switch it back, but running Poison Injection does give you that little bit of extra burst on your execute whenever they get on low health. Venom Arrow will interrupt them if they are in the middle of a cast, or if they're trying to get a res or something like that, and it stuns them and sets them off balance. And that's when you lay in the big boy burst. Then of course we have any Nightblade's main tool for defense, Shadowy Disguise. It will deliver a guaranteed crit, and in a build like this, that's the name of the game. Swapping over to our front bar, we are running Rally. That is our stamina recovery and our weapon damage increase tool. It is also our burst heal. Yes, it is buggy. I know it's buggy, but we'll move on to that later if you don't want to run Rally. That's a risky choice in my opinion, but if you don't want to run it, there's an option for it. Next skill is going to be Grim Focus. Next patch it is getting changed, but for the moment we are using Grim Focus. I will probably still run it because it is a huge amount of burst. Now, thing with this is you can stack this up in no time, especially if you're ramping up your Poison Injection or your Venom Arrow, to ramp up that extra little bit of damage from the dots. Or maybe they're sitting at a range and they're kiting you and it's a sword or something like that. You can ramp it up and pre-arm it, go in for the gank, launch this right in their face. Moving on to the next skill, Camouflaged Hunter, giving you that major savagery bonus that our crit build really desperately needs. It gives you the 8% from the enemy's flank for minor berserk, and it gives you that little boost of extra weapon damage for having it slotted. It does bring Nightblades out of stealth, so it is nice to have. Now, if you don't feel like running that, you can always run Ambush when you're in a group or something like that, or maybe you're surfing a Zerg. Yeah, run Ambush. It's really nice in Cyrodiil. However, if you're solo or in BGs, in my personal testing, I felt like I needed the Executioner or the Killer's Blade, me personally. Moving on to our next one. What have I done? There we go. Prize Attack, which is in our Shadow Tree. Going to reduce their physical resistance in this high tank meta. It is our spammable, sets them off balance, and with the recent change in the last patch, it is now a controlled stun and off balance. So, one of our sets is going to be really depending on this, and it's so easy to proc. It makes it so easy. You do not have a problem keeping up any of the debuffs off this. It is insane. That surprise attack buff was the best thing that they could have did. Now, I can say, for those of you that did want to run the mass hysteria, this is going to counteract with that. So, you're going to run into issues with it. You could have put D-Swing there if you wanted to and run mass hysteria, but again, you're going to run into issues on it. Having 2 stuns that are part of your normal burst toolkit, that's going to be like beating your head over a wall on which stun you actually are trying to proc off. Moving on, we have Executioner. Now, I've seen a couple of Nightblades running Reverse Slice. I don't know why. I know it's double dipping into Battle Spirit currently. It will be fixed next patch according to the PTS, but I've always ran Executioner because Nightblade is all about the single target damage. And finally, our ult is Incapacitating Strike. Giving you a little bit extra resources. You can stun them from stealth. If you're over 120 ult, deals disease damage, and it increases all the damage that one target takes by 20% for the next 6 seconds. It only costs 70 ult, so it's easy to keep up. It does have a little bit of a cast time, but you do it right and you don't just stun them into it, because most people are immediately roll dodging as soon as they get off balance stun from the surprise attack. So I like to lead with the end cap, so I already get that little bit of extra damage. I can stun them with the surprise attack or even catch them with the stun with the end cap and really lock them into all the damage. Can't remember if I went over it or not. You can run the Citric Order ult on your back bar or the minor protection, or another option, you can run the bow ult rapid fire. You know, I see a lot of people running Toxic Barrage or Ballista. It can be very defensive as well. You know, putting on that pressure, it allows you to get away whenever you drop that Ballista. Or you can go and use Consuming Darkness in group play. I've seen quite a few Nightblades doing that, and it seems to be pretty helpful. Moving on to our gear. Running Stuhns, 1 weapon damage. All infused, except for this one. It's going to be infused. 2 trash debt recoveries, and 1 weapon damage. Or werewolf for back bar. Yes, that is another one that someone mentioned in the chat over here. You can do that as well for the stam recovery, but with the set we're running, I really don't have too much stam or mag issues. Running Divines, Shadowstone for all crit damage, so it's really boosting that crit damage being a Khajiit. We are running only 6-1, 1 heavy, 6 medium. Still need to transmute that to Divines. Disease damage glyph with the Nirnhoned Maul. Could be gold, that would really boost it, but I'm a broke kitty. Running a marksman bow, you kind of want infused. Only one I had at the time, but Master's bow is what you really want to shoot for. One guy that always does like to run is Protect Pots. My friend Kick and Wing, you know, he always loves to run those and really screw over those Nightblades that think they're safe. Now, you can run tripods, that's always the go-to, or you can run the weapon power pots if you're feeling ballsy. I've seen a couple of people trying to do that because Rally's not working correctly and they're taking Rally completely off and putting on weapon power pots and dropping off the Camouflage Hunter for ambush. But I wouldn't do that. If you don't have the Master's Bow, then you can always run Potentates. I just put on a bow with a little bit extra stamina recovery, honestly, and it's been working fine. Whenever you move on into the food, like I use Dubious Camoran Throne, trying to provide you with a lot of options. You know, you can use the Arteum takeaway broth. I've seen a couple people doing that as well. Lavafoot Soup, all of that can be ran as long as you move your stats up and down, you know, to kind of reach that 25k threshold on your health. Champion points. 40 into Warlord. 8 into Bashing Focus. You can put that in the Sprinter if you want to, but I really don't find myself sprinting too much. 56 in the Mooncalf, 43 Arcanist, 43 for Healthy. Tenacity, you could put your Healthy into Tenacity as well, but a lot of people are going Health Recovery this patch, so. 7 in Befoul, we have a lot of disease damage going outwards, so it really helps out with this high heal, I guess you say high health recovery meta where people are really struggling to heal, so the extra, you know, close to 5% really does help out. 73 into Tumbling, we are a roly-poly Nightblade, we do need it. Shadow Ward, we don't need that. Shade, you could run that, but I'm not really running into any issues. Nothing in here. 39 Physical Weapon Expert. 81 Master at Arms. We are trying to get the Tactician passive for the off balance. That's our bread and butter, and it's going to help out with our sustain. Moving on, we're going to get the Last Stand passive after all of these. So 45 into Piercing, 49 into Mighty, and 56 into Precise Strikes. That's where all our damage is coming from. So this build is nothing unique. You know, everybody's running kind of the same champion point setup on Nightblade. 61 Ironclad, 24 Spell Shield, 52 Resistant, 24 Medium Armor Focus, 18 Thick Skin, 32 Elemental Defender, 32 Hardy, and 27 Quick Recovery. You can change this in any way you need to. The only thing I would suggest is really sticking to the stat sheet right here. Whenever you stick to this, you'll notice that damage increase with this build. I believe that is it. If you like any of the content, I'm about to do another build video today and launch it out as well. Hit that follow and subscribe button and turn your notifications on so that way you can be notified whenever I push out new content. It's constantly coming out.